Give your muscles a chance to completely relax down to gravity. Start to feel with every breath the muscles relaxing and releasing just deeper and deeper and deeper. The idea that we're connecting with today, and just keep this deep breath going. The idea today is the idea of using more of the earth energy in our practice. So a lot of times Yogilates tends to be more of a fiery energy. We're moving quickly between one pose and another. We're doing a lot of core-based strength. Today we're doing the same types of movements, but we're doing them in a strong, earthy manner, meaning instead of going so quickly through our repetitions, we're going to be holding in a rep, then switching, then holding. And this will be a lot different use of our muscles. So you'll get to feel exactly which muscles are firing, which ones are contracting, which ones are releasing. And it builds this much deeper body awareness. And so that's that earth aspect, that connection with our experience, with our body, with our breath. And so think of perhaps the metaphor of the earth being our foundation. If we have a strong foundation under our building, it won't fall away and just kind of be swept off when the floods start to come. If a person builds their house too close to an arroyo here, if the flash flood gets high enough, it could just sweep their entire house away. So instead, we're connecting to this earth quality. We're establishing a strong, sure foundation, and that's what we're building our life off of. And so with this idea, there's a lot of metaphors we can play with that idea. Maybe your foundation is your family and you want to connect with your family more. Maybe your foundation is the self-care that you're including in your day. So whatever it is, let that metaphor of the foundation rest in the back of the mind. Perhaps we'll gain little insights regarding that inspiration. And so with that, to get us started, let's take our first physical thing. We're taking knees into the chest. And when a hand comes up to each knee, give it a moment. Maybe we're rocking around left and right. Maybe we're on our hips. Good. So we kind of have established this base, that base of hips and sacrum. So that's where our first thing will be built off of. So letting the sacrum and hips rest there. Let the legs extend up to the sky. Hands can be on the floor, either wide or close to the hips, whatever helps you feel the strongest here. And then the legs will begin to open out super wide. Now we're not going rushed. You're going as if you've got a rubber band around the legs and you're resisting that leg opening action. And then start to squeeze the inner thighs together until eventually legs touch. And then we reverse it. So this is that slow process. Rather than trying to get reps in, we're trying to move through the control. Feel every step of the way. Maybe the first one was easy, but maybe we're starting to get a little bit more shaky by now. Let's take 2 more. And then with this last one, stay open. Hands will rest on the inner thighs. We'll pause there for a little bit of a stretch moment. You can let the knees bend if you need that little bit of a break. It does require more muscular activation to keep them extending. So your choice, your preference based on how the legs feel right now. And imagine the weight of your hands is helping you to drop deeper into gravity. That's that earth quality. Gravity happens because of an accumulation of a huge amount of earth. The more earth you have gathered together, or the more matter, the greater the gravity is. Good. So you can still bend your knees if you need to for this next one, or continue to try to leave them muscularly straight. But what we're going to do is take a brief moment, reaching the arms up overhead. This will be our prep. And then what we're going to do is just come up to a crunch and try to stay. We're just pausing right there halfway into a crunch. Just count a count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work. Spine down. Let the knees bend. Rest the feet at each long edge of the mat. So like basically feet planting mat distance wide. Then take a few windshield wipers. So let both knees have a chance to go left. Both knees have a chance to go right. You'll feel that break, that resting right in front of the hip sockets, right in the joint, at front of the hip area, the psoas. And the knees go back to the left, maybe even pause a few extra breaths. You have the choice to take left ankle and rest on right thigh if you like that. Not if it hurts your knees to any degree. Dropping this side, let's take it over to the second, maybe lifting the right ankle up. Resting it down, take 2 or 3 more windshield wipers, making sure knees are happy. Good. Once we're back upright with the knees, scoot the inner thighs to touch, so feet will be about that hip distance apart. The right leg extends out to a nice long angle. The knees are still glued together. So from here, what we're going to do is reach up overhead, take an inhale. Exhale, flex the arms to the sides. Lift as much of your back off the ground as possible. So, and just hold at whatever angle that is, whether that's on the ground or a little bit higher. And when you're ready to take a break, come up, switch the knees, and you'll do the same thing to the second side. Sweep up and pause. At least 1 full breath cycle, maybe a few more. And when you're ready to come down, switch the legs and just continue for a little while. You can always add breaks if you need to. I have to say, so I always say it's not a day if I haven't tipped over my water at least once. It's just like it just happens. Good. You're starting to feel your core come much more alive. This requires that static hold, and that's quite different than just getting to the space. Let's do once more each leg. Beautiful. Once we're back down, let the hands rest right next to your hips. We're going to take bridge pose and just stay lifted. So feet are again planted close to the glutes. We've got the feet just about hip distance wide. So begin to push your feet into the ground, and then by curling the tailbone under, we'll start to roll that sacrum up and lift up one vertebrae at a time. At the top, keep the inner thighs squeezing inward. If you can clasp hands under your back, feel free to take that clasp. And we're just going to be holding here for a little while. Always know if I'm holding too long and you need to come out, take that, you have that permission. But if you can continue to maintain, let's hold this and breathe. Here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Roll the spine back down. Feel those glutes relax. We'll take a moment here, pausing with a little yoga stretch to stretch the glutes that we're just working. So right ankle to left thigh. And then give a hug around that left side. So it can either be around thigh or shin, whichever you can reach. Relax, take the other ankle up, give it a hug. That's what I love about Yogilates. You get these little yoga stretches in between all the work we're doing. Helps to make sure that our muscles are lean as they're getting built. Good. So as arms start to release, let's allow this left leg to stay bent. Release the right leg to the ground for just a moment. So left leg is here in front of us. Hands clasped behind the head, lifting the head up. Twist this right elbow to that left knee. And then right leg can hover. You choose the angle. Higher is easier. Lower is harder. Pause here just a little longer. And then switch sides. We're taking that time to pause at each spot. So this is very different than just continuously flowing back and forth, back and forth. Good, switching. You're pausing at least one breath cycle. It's okay if you're at a different pace than me, but at least one inhale and exhale before you switch. And each time we come up, because we're pausing, you have that moment to see if you are lifting as much of your back off the ground as possible. That'll be what really helps to build the strength there. Again, if you need breaks before I take it, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with listening to your body. You're still doing okay. Let's take one more each side. Good work. When you set the head back down, let this left leg stay inward. Right leg can drop down to the ground. And we'll introduce the left leg toward a twist. So start to head it to the right. You could absolutely pause at the 45-degree angle if you love the stretch you're getting in the outer hip. You could continue to head deeper into the twist, moving the spine up the muscles of the back. So it's up to you exactly where you pause. But like that earth quality, have a moment to just settle into the shape, and the only thing that's moving is the breath. Beautiful. Resting this side down. Take it to the second side. So left leg to floor, right knee in, and the right knee to the left. Choose about that same angle as long as it still feels good in the body. Pausing long enough that our heart rate is calming down, our breath is getting caught. Slowing back down. Easy movement, easy flowing. Okay, so as hip goes back down, we're gonna do the same thing we did a moment ago. So pick the head back up, twist that left elbow to the right knee, the other leg hovers. When you get that set up, pause at least one breath. When you're ready to switch, you can pause at least one breath. Three, two, one. Get it to the last side when you're there. And then we can rest. Give it a couple of breaths, feet dropping down. Purposely let the low back arch for a moment. Feel how the sacrum can then have a lift all the way up to the rib cage. So when you do that arch, it's nice because you feel a little bit of back bend, so you're stretching the core just a little bit. But then feel what it takes to press the low back into the ground. So it's not that we're lifting the tailbone with that still on the earth, with the sacrum still flat. Feel what core muscles have to engage for the low back to be flat. So that'll be very key for this next movement because we're going to lift the legs up and then start to lower them. So if you lower to the point where the low back is arching, you have that chance of tweaking your back because the legs are a lot heavier than the rest. And so it has a torque. So again, feel what it takes to keep the low back flat. There's very specific abdominal muscles that keep that tuck of the hips. So that's what we're trying to find. From there, hands are on the floor by the hips. Start to bring the legs up to the sky. So just leave the legs above our body for a moment while I explain. Eventually, we're going to take 3 notches, lowering the legs a little bit, and then eventually a little bit more, and then eventually a little bit more. And in each step, we're going to pause. So note that to make it so the low back doesn't arch, you can only really go maybe to that 45-degree angle. So you'll have to mentally divide the rest of those notches up from there. If you start to get to a point where low back does lift, you can't have that core control to keep it down any longer, then that's your indicator. Don't go any further than that point. Okay, so now we're ready to lower down 1 notch. So go just a little bit. It doesn't have to be far at all. And it's maybe easy still here for the first couple of breaths, but you'll start to notice very soon it does require muscular effort. So continue to breathe into that space. Maybe lower a second notch. Just maintain it for a little while. Knees slightly bent would also make this easier if you need to just make it a little bit easier for yourself. Straighter legs is harder. Lower to one more final notch. Make sure low back is still flat on the ground. So much core engagement. And working our way back up. Go to the notch you were just a moment ago. Up again. And then right up at the top, notice how even though we're stacked again, it's still the legs are a little shaky because we fatigued the muscles. So that's amazing. That's great. Beautiful place to work with. Let's pause here. Another count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend the legs. Send the legs to the ground. Let's take a nice banana stretch. So right ankle over left. Legs scoot off to that left side. Above head, grab onto the right wrist and scoot it off to the left side. You'll feel that rush of blood back to the legs after being lifted up for so long. So just enjoy that as we're getting this huge side body stretch. We'll start to switch sides. So come back onto the mat and then left ankle over, legs to the right. Up above head, grab left wrist, shoulders to the right. Another nice inhale. Exhale, gently release. Here we're going to try to come up toward a seated position as slow as we can. So if you have control to do a slow roll, that's okay, do that. That's what I'm going to do. If you don't, come up to the point where you do have control and then grab your thighs and just finish the rest of it slowly. Okay, so if you're going slow with me, arms up overhead, inhale. Exhale, literally as slowly as you can, the arms start to rise. Maybe an inhale, then exhale to start to lift. Super, super, super slow. Eventually come all the way to stretch over the legs. Just pause for a couple of breaths. From here, sitting up tall, fingertips can be helping us or palms on the floor, whatever staff pose helps us to sit, even a little bit of bent knees if you need to be sitting up tall. So start to feel what muscular engagement is required to be sitting here. You feel something going on in your legs, you start to feel your back, a little bit of your core, you've got lots of height. So only if you can maintain this, the legs and the torso solid, maybe the arms start to float out to the sides. Make sure you don't add tension to the shoulders though, so shoulders are still relaxed. Good, and only if we continue to not sacrifice anything, maybe you continue to float the arms up right up by next to the ears. Maintaining here, another count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come all the way forward. Good. So as we're rising up, the idea of the next one is the idea of rowing a boat, but we're rowing as if we're going through molasses. So you literally have to pull to one side and then pull to the other. So you've got two options based on how the core can hold it. So one option is just feet planted and then just do that slow motion. The other option is going from boat pose and trying to just tilt the knees and just go slowly through one side as deep into those oblique muscles as you can, and then switch, go slowly to the other side. So your preference. Feel the arms working, having that resistance, and feel the core working to hold you up. Feel how you can bring yourself to that deepest part of the twist. Let's do 2 more each side. Good. Slide the heels into cobbler's pose and just take a little break. Feel how there's an immediate contrast between the strength of the earth, that really strong force. So that's like holding us up like a lot of these poses we've been doing. And that's in comparison to the nurturing side of the earth. So right now when we're getting this little break, it's like we've dipped into some good soils and the plants can start to grow really nicely. So especially if there's any tension in the head, neck, shoulder area, maybe let your head rock around a little bit, pausing by the right shoulder, pausing by the left shoulder, easing into those spots that don't have to be solid earth for us. They can flow much more easily so that our legs can be that strong foundation. So starting to sit up tall again. We've got another thing from the staff pose position, so legs out long again. From here, what we'll do is float the arms in front of us. And this is going to be just the slowest breath we can maintain. So a slow exhale, taking us as far back as our core can hold us up. And then when we're on to our slow inhale, rise right back up to staff. Exhale, the arms will float up this time. Inhale, right back to return. So you're going as slow as a breath as possible. So your pace might be slightly different than somebody else's. But make sure you feel right at the end of that exhale, that pull, that tug right there. Good, let's take 2 more of these. You can start to feel how sometimes going slower is not necessarily easier. Good, one more round. Beautiful. Just a moment with an easy cross leg shape. Let's stretch our shoulder. Take the right arm across your body, pull it in. Even the head can tilt over to the left if that helps you feel a really good stretch. Now open up wide. Exhale, second side. Good, open up wide. Okay, we're heading onto hands and knees. What we're gonna do from here for a moment is try to take essentially chaturanga and just hold it. So that means that it won't be a full chaturanga, like right above the ground, because I know I can't hold that very long. This can be from a kneeling plank or from the knees lifting in plank. It's gonna be your choice. I know I'm working on upper body strength, so I'm gonna do the demonstration for the kneeling one. So what we do, rather than elbows bending wide to the sides, we bend the elbows backwards, and we just have as much bend as we feel like we can maintain for quite a while. But doesn't have to be much. Try to keep a straight line from knees to shoulders, so hips are a little bit forward. You got it. Okay, you got any amount of bend that you can maintain, and just hold it. Going for another count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower. Good. From here, swing the elbows out in front of you. That will help you have a sense of groundedness from in front. And then the action that we're going to take is including the legs, the glutes, the back. So what we're doing is squeezing in our thighs together. Lift the legs directly up. And then hold for at least a breath. In and out. And then start to lower down. Give it a break, maybe a good in and out. So all your back muscles engage for that lift. It might even lift shoulders a little bit. That's okay. That's how the body balances. When you're ready, you can lower. Just keep on going at your own pace. You can always hold longer than I am if you'd like. Let's take one more round. Good work. When we lower, slide the elbows underneath us. We're going to take a moment with this nice Sphinx pose. We can feel the core stretching. So even exaggerate that by dragging hands toward you without them actually moving. Then that pulls the abdominals into a really good stretch. Letting the left hand in, the right hand goes back to try to grab right toes. And you just go to whatever amount you need to pull to get into that quad stretch. Release, switch it out. Beautiful. As you release, it may feel nice to take a couple of breaths in child pose. Just feel those back muscles start to stretch. If at any point it feels like you're ready to move on, you're welcome to go to downward facing dog sooner than the rest of us. I'll kind of hang on and wait until we all get there. But at some point we will rise, but again, don't feel any rush, because the sooner you go, the longer you have to wait. You're not up to down dog yet. Take 2 or 3 more breaths and then you'll start to rise. We'll float the left leg to the sky and hold for at least 1 breath. Then step that left foot in between hands. We're going to leave the legs exactly how they just got positioned. So we're keeping the back heel lifted if we can balance that way. In fact, if you need help balancing, you can shift your foot a little bit wider so it's not like you're on a balance beam anymore. That is an option. When you feel like you have your feet steady enough to balance off of, lift your torso to an angle where it can stay long, and then arms can float at your sides, whether you're bringing it shoulder height or just right by your hips. We're feeling this front leg work. So just pause there, a couple of extra breaths. And drop hands to the inner part of the foot. Rotate on the heels to your long edge of the mat and just dangle forward for a moment, giving the legs a break. Bending the knees, let's roll our way up. Take as much time as your head needs to safely shift your blood pressure. Then once you're up, we'll take goddess. So the toes turn out to 45-degree angle. Hands can be at the heart or open, your choice. And we're just sinking as low as we have that easy, but yet deep control. We're getting into the muscles, and then we're maintaining that spot for a little while. Good, straighten the legs. We're gonna turn this into a pyramid pose. So swivel the heels toward the front of your mat, maybe even shortening stance so that, maybe shortening the stance so that your hips can even be pointing all the way forward. 2 straight legs, and then we begin to pivot our way down. Maybe towards shin is where we end up, maybe toward floor, if the leg can stay straight. We're gonna head back into the plank or the chaturanga variation we played with earlier. So hands work their way to the ground. Slide the feet back, maybe dropping to knees if you liked that variation earlier. And then squeezing the elbows in, lower down as much as you can, just hold. Try to make sure neck isn't curling in or arching back. It's kind of trying to stay in a straight line from the rest of the spine. The arms, notice how you can feel some areas we don't always feel. So maybe you're feeling the back, pecs, the biceps. Just be with it a couple more breaths. We'll go for a count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down. Good work. Moment with a little back bend, whether that's Sphinx or Cobra. You're welcome to do child pose or just go straight to the down dog, whatever your body feels like it can handle right now. If you're not up to down dog yet, go ahead and rise. We'll begin to play with the second side, all of those things. So right leg will float, hold for at least one breath in and out. Step that foot in between hands. This is the one we're trying to find balance. So keep on shifting around or shortening stance until you feel like you can hold it. Then we lift the spine up to that long angle, arms can float. Feel the strength, especially of this front leg. Legs are really that earth quality of us. This is our foundation, so we're helping it to be very strong, very sure for us. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands to the inside of the leg, pivot on the heels. Let's take that forward fold. Maybe there's a new arm variation this time. So play around with whatever grip feels good. It's almost like once we've found the pose that's going to work for us, it's like we turn into a statue. So there's just that beautiful stillness, like the quality of earth. Good, let's make our way up to stand. Remember, you can take all the time you need if you need to just roll your spine up slowly. When you feel like it's safe to be up, turn your toes out, take that goddess. So maybe hands at the heart, maybe open out, whatever one helps you feel steady. As we're moving down to the squat, remember knees are trying to go kind of open toward the pinky toes. Good, whatever strength you have, try to drop into it. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straighten the legs. Pivot on the heels to face to the top of your mat. Maybe shorten the stance so hips can turn all the way. And then slide down toward that pyramid pose on this side. Beautiful work. From here, we're going to do one last round of that chaturanga thing that we were playing with before. So I want you to step your front foot back. I want you to drop down to knees if that's what you did before. This is our last one. Let's try to maybe lower just a centimeter deeper than we want to go. breathing. Here is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower. Take a little mini back bend. And I want us to go straight to down dog so that can lead us toward pigeon pose. That's where we'll rest. So down dog, float your right leg up to sky. And then send right knee under and through into pigeon. When you get there, maybe take a back bend for just a moment. Feel that arch of the back. And then we can lower down toward elbows and just find a beautiful rest. For all the work the legs, hamstrings, the calves, the glutes have done for us today, this is a beautiful gift to give back. Letting them stretch. We're gonna switch sides. I like personally to do the switch from down dog. So let's plant our hands. If that's like how you like to switch to, you don't have to. But if you're going through the down dog, come up for a moment, maybe a couple of wiggles. And when you're ready, lift the left leg and send it through. You could add that brief moment with the back bend, or you rest all the way down. Feel another slow breath come into your body. Nice exhale. And from here, we're kind of starting to get to that point, wrapping up our class, beginning our journey toward our Shavasana today. So let this be a nice, deep listening to your body. Maybe you come out of this through down dog. Maybe you eventually come out into a seated shape. Just listen to your body. What last stretches and gifts can you give the cells of your body before you end up resting all the way in a comfortable spot on your back? Is there anything we can do to help? There's no rush in this journey. Some of us might be moving another couple of minutes. Nothing wrong with that. Some of us might be close to Shavasana already, and that's perfectly fine also. When you get toward your Shavasana shape, an image that can be helpful for us today is imagining we're laying on earth. Maybe this is Easy to imagine that you're on a warm beach. And that warm sand is just kind of enveloping you. You're sinking into it. Just let all the surface area of your back space just relax down into the ground, down into the sand, down into the earth. And it's like when you're hugged like this, there's not a care in the world. Nothing could go wrong. Everything's gonna be okay. Just at your own pace, keep these breaths flowing. We'll be here for a few more minutes. It's a nice meditative way to get our body to readjust back to the state of presence and awareness eventually. But for now, just relax. So here as we're beginning to deepen our breath, reconnect again to the earth. Feel that support that's underneath us, constantly holding us up, buoying us up. And from that connection, we begin to introduce little movements back to fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. Stretching out like we're waking up first thing in the morning. Maybe eventually taking a fetal position off to one side. Enjoying a few beautiful rounds of breath here. This invitation to return, to find greater presence in our life. Eventually rising up to a comfortable seated place when we're ready. Hands together in front of our hearts. Here, we allow ourselves to return to the earth, to our foundation. We think of what that foundation is in our life. What is that sure thing that we can build off of? Is it our family? Building those kinds of relationships? Is it the self-care that helps us to have energy through the rest of our days? Whatever we're considering to be our foundation right now, make this commitment to strengthen it and to maintain it. And so with all this to help lead us on, let's wrap up the time we got to share together today with the sound of Om. Deep inhale now. May we be filled with light, happiness, and peace. Namaste.